Hey, Kurt F. Snyder here. If you know anything about me as a cyclist, you know I spend a lot of time riding in the dark with lights. I love riding at night. I think it's a really enjoyable experience, and I do it in so many different avenues, whether it's in multi-day bikepacking races where you're out riding through a big chunk of the night, night after night, or chasing big FKT efforts that are long enough they stretch into the dark, or you start before sunrise. Um, or if it's on long tours and I'm just trying to make miles and have big days that I need to get through and ride in the evening, or just regular rides. I have a habit of starting rides late in the day and they just stretch into the evening and then after dark, and I really enjoy it. So one of the questions I get with all that night riding that I do is, what is my light setup? And I want to chat a little bit about these Phoenix lights that I use. This is basically the same setup I use for all of those different events and types of challenges I mentioned earlier. And this is pretty much the exact same light setup I've been using for 4 or 5 years now, I think. So, what is it? It's this handlebar light is a Phoenix BC26R, and then the light I use on my helmets is a HM65RT, and this is the 2.0 version. This is the 1.0. This one just came out beginning of this year. And let me walk through kind of what it is I love about these lights so much. So this one, the headlamp I use, it's actually a trail running light, and I think it's obviously it's fantastic for trail running, but it's a really good one for cycling because of the beam pattern, and it has two different LEDs on here. There's a cooler uh, light and a warmer light LED. So depending on your visual preferences in the dark, you can choose which one of those that you want to use. The warm also tends to be a little bit better in kind of foggy conditions or rainy conditions. And the beam on this, the output that it has is on this one, it's 130, 400, or 1600 lumens. So a lot of light when it's on high. This is 24 hours, about 12 hours, and about 3 hours of runtime on these different modes. And then the really awesome part of these lights for folks that are out for multi-night adventures or single night ones where you need a lot of output and run through batteries is you can carry spare batteries and swap out really easily for a new one. And it's as simple as that. These batteries cost something like $25 for a new one, so you can have a number of different spares to carry along depending on the length of your effort. And the handlebar light, this one is a bike specific light. It has settings of 50, 200, 600, and 1600 lumens that get something like 65 hours, about 18 hours, about 9 hours, and about 3 hours of light off them. So if you run these two together on the highest mode, you get over 3000 lumens. I tend to run these on medium for most things, and so that looks like 400 lumens out of this, 200 out of this, or run this one on high and you get 600. And so this one on medium, this one on high, you can get an entire night of riding out of if you're riding straight through the night and your nights are in the like 10 or 11 hour range. For reference, I did the Vapor Trail 125 race in September, and that one starts at 10 p.m. and it's got a lot of really technical moto trail descents. And this was the light setup I used. I carried two of these on the handlebars so that I had both of those on high for the most technical of the descents. Had this on my helmet. This battery lasted all night. This one running on the high mode at 600 lumens. I got almost all the way through the night, but I had the second one that I didn't turn on except on the descents, and so that got me through the morning hours. And I didn't carry any spare batteries beyond what was in the lights themselves. And these things, same thing, you can very easily unscrew them, pop the battery out. And these are actually a little bit bigger battery than the headlamp uses. So one of the reasons I like the headlamp as opposed to one of these in the helmet is these batteries are just a little bit lighter. And I know some folks will ask, like, well, why not use a dynamo setup? I have nothing against dynamos. I just think it's a lot of extra complexity and is unnecessary for most riding. So like I've done the Colorado Trail Race and the Arizona Trail 750 on this kind of a setup, and I had enough batteries in the Colorado Trail Race for 4 full nights of riding, and the AZT 750 that was what, 5, 6 nights out. And this is the setup I carried, and I did the math and learned that it was somewhere between like 4 or 5 nights, depending on what mode you want to run these lights on. That is the break even point in terms of the weight difference between a dynamo hub versus and a headlamp versus these. So if you carry batteries for 5 nights of riding a good chunk of the night, that weighs the same as the extra weight of having a dynamo hub set up on your bike. And this is just so much simpler to deal with. And batteries, once they burn out, you can mail them home to yourself. And so this is my preferred setup for pretty much anything of that duration. What else? I raced 24 hours in the Old Pueblo earlier this year and was on a 5-person team, and so we were turning over really fast laps. Same as Vapor Trail. I ran 2 of these on the handlebars on the turbo, and so I was getting 3,000 lumens just off my handlebar lights. That was fantastic. That was more light than pretty much anyone else out there had. And one of the other beauties of these things is this handlebar light is something like $100 or $120. This headlamp, about the same price range, and so you can get that, spare batteries, and it's really reasonably priced. These things are completely waterproof. I've never had any of them leak, which is fantastic for riding in wetter places. There's a little tail light that you can get in a package along with these that I've taken on tons of tours now, ride with it on just road rides and gravel rides around, even during the day at this point. And this one on this high flash mode gets 35 hours and has a little USB charging port on it, so you can recharge that easily. These you can also recharge from other batteries. There's a USB port on all of these, and so if you do run a dynamo hub, you can charge these during the day or charge these off a cache battery or something like that. So it's an incredibly versatile system, which is another one of the beauties of it. For mounting them, you saw that this one I had strapped on my helmet. For tours, I love this setup because when you get to camp at night, you can just pop this off your helmet, put it on your head. If you rode in the dark, if you didn't ride in the dark, then you already have the strap ready to go. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, than getting to camp and having to just wear your helmet around in the evening because that's where your light is, and it got dark early. This one is a different light mount that Phoenix makes that you can zip tie or use adhesive to fasten to the top of your helmet. And so this was the setup I used for Unbound XL this year, and for the Rockstar 270, where I don't want to have the weight of the light on my helmet all day long. And so you can just pop this off, throw it in your frame bag or wherever you want, and then when it gets dark, just slide that right on. And it's a slick little system. All right, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments down below. I'll try to respond to them as I can. I'll add a link in the description to where to find all of these. And if you've never ridden in the dark before, give it a try. It's a lot of fun. It's a really neat way to see the world, and the whole riding experience is so different from during the day. And if you do ride at night, well, happy night riding.